Come see us do stand-up in Baltimore, Hartford, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Cohoes, New York, Providence, Rhode Island, and San Jose, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for the tickets. This kind of piggybacks on what we're seeing with Ukraine because they just outlawed Georgescu from running, right? Chaos in Romania's capital after far-right Calin Georgescu barred from the presidential redo. Now, he won the first election. They threw the election out because they said it was influenced by Russia, which I've heard something like that somewhere before, and it was completely fabricated. In fact, now we're finding out that those Russian social media influencer videos were funded. There's accusations they were funded by the people inside Romania who want to keep the war going. And I just wanted to show you this. Here is the energy secretary and a member of parliament from Romania. He said, all hell, here's Robert Malone. He says, all hell's breaking loose in Romania. The election commission reviewed all 390,000 signatures in support of Georgescu, and having found them all to be valid, decided nonetheless to vote against his candidacy 10-4. Riots have broken out in the streets of Bucharest. And here's the guy. So there's Georgescu, and this is from Daily Romania, and there is no other single politician that would achieve to unite Romanians like he did. That's why they are afraid of him. They know divided, we are weak and controllable. So that's what this is. And here is him himself. He said it's a direct blow to the heart of democracy worldwide that he's been banned from the election. I have one, which is basically what they did to Trump. They used the same kind of ideas. They tried to get him off the ballot in many different ways. Russiagate was the first one. The 2 impeachments was another 92 law. And then the January 6th FBI fueled insurrection, quote unquote. He said the entire democratic world will fall. This is just the beginning. It's that simple. Europe is now a dictatorship. Romania is under tyranny. And let's remember what J.D. Vance, when he was in Munich, he talked directly to this situation.
And sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard.
So, yeah. So here it is. He's calling it out. They're doubling down on it now, and they're doing this under the guise of we are trying to protect Romania and the European Union from extremism from the right. Well, what could be more extreme than canceling democratic elections, barring opposition, the winner of that election, from running again, putting people in jail for protesting Israel, and then literally funding Nazis, legit Nazis in Ukraine. So they're actually the thing they claim to be fighting against. Am I wrong?
Well, there's a basic fact that adds on to this, which is that every European politician that has supported the NATO expansion to Ukraine and the war in Ukraine is incredibly unpopular. We started by listening with Marie Le Pen. Macron has an approval rating of about 20%. Starmer in the UK has an approval rating of around 20%. Scholz, who until this moment is now caretaker chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, just lost with the worst outcome of the Social Democratic Party in more than a century, has an approval rating of about 20%. The Europeans are disgusted with all of this. This isn't a popular cause. This is a small elite group of politicians running against common sense, European interest, and public opinion, all of them. And so that's why they're canceling this candidate in Romania. He wants to stop the war. And in the neighborhood where he is, you have Robert Fico, who is the prime minister of Slovakia. You have Viktor Orban, who's been for years completely right about every word he said about what would happen with the Ukraine war. And Romania, wants to express the same thing in public opinion, and they're being blocked to do so. So this is a phenomenon straight across Europe right now. This is an incredibly unpopular war. It's been terrible for the European economy, after all, which had a normal trading relationship with Russia, which the American deep state hated. That's why we blew up the damn pipeline and broke their energy system, broke the German industrial base. And the mainstream politicians continue in this crazy way until this moment. Even with Trump giving the exit ramp for all of this, they can't understand to take it.
And so, again, who's controlling these people? They're not responsive to their own electorate, to their own citizens. So what is possibly in it for them? I mean, they let them blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, which has tanked the European economy. I mean, Germany, which is the economic engine, has been paying 2, 3, 4 times the price for energy, and they're in what they call it's a recession. They call it a contraction. What is the possible? Is there a small cabal of people at the WF controlling all of Europe or something?
I don't know. One of my beautiful young granddaughters just said, well, Grandpa, maybe it's that they don't want to admit that they were wrong. So we were having a discussion about this. The politicians do not know how to fold a losing hand because they don't know the fallacy of sunk costs, which means if you've lost, you get out of the game. They don't understand that because they'd have to admit that the last 3 years was a debacle, a hideous set of errors. Why is Zelensky, who's supposed to represent, quote, the interests of the Ukrainian people, why is he dragging people out of cars, sending them to the front lines to die when a clear majority of Ukrainians want the war to end, even with territorial concessions? They say that in the opinion polls that we're seeing in recent weeks. But Zelensky rules by martial law, won't admit it, and probably because, as an individual, he has a lot of responsibility in this. Of course, Biden has much greater responsibility because when Zelensky was ready to talk peace with the Russians in April 2022, it was Biden and Boris Johnson that said, no, don't do that. We have your back. And that's what has led to an extra 1 million casualties of the Ukrainians dead and seriously wounded since then.
So Scott Ritter says that we should sanction Romania, target the government, courts, and the intelligence services. No mercy. We claim to be defenders of democracy, then let us defend democracy. Either Georgescu is allowed to participate in his election or the Romanian government is overthrown. Do the right thing.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Basically, I don't want us to overthrow any governments. I don't want us to be involved in Romanian internal politics. I want us to stop the war on our side. I want us to give our best suggestion to the Europeans: stop fighting. The truth is, by the way, when the United States stops fighting, the Europeans can't continue the war anyway. This is just a simple mechanics of funds and ammunition and targeting and missiles. I don't want the United States overthrowing any more governments, frankly. I don't want us determining or saving or dissing or dumping anyone's democracy. I just want us to stop this behavior. We've led to too many wars, too many overthrows, too many regime change operations. So with all due respect to Scott Ritter, it's a tragedy. We can say so, but I don't want us to do more than that.
How do you see it? I mean, are you good at predictions? How do you see this ending up?
I think the war is about to end in Ukraine because if Trump doesn't get dissuaded by our own deep state, if he stays as resolute as he has been in recent weeks, if Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz, and others stay as clear as they have been, the war is about to end. It cannot continue without U.S. support. So that's the first point. I hope, by the way, frankly, to change the subject a little bit, that he could see the same thing in the Middle East. We should not be fighting Netanyahu's wars, period. That man has gotten the United States into more wars than anybody else, as far as I'm concerned. And we don't need wars with Iran. We don't need wars with China. We don't need to support Israel's wars. We need to stop this. We've got enough issues to deal with of our own. And Trump is right on Ukraine, and I want him to be as right on the other regions as well.
This is the Minister of Energy of Romania. He's the former Minister of Digitalization, and he's a member of Parliament. He tweeted this out. Stop the terrible disinformation regarding Romania. Yes, it is democratic to ban an anti-Semite extremist funded by the Russians from running for president. It is democratic to cancel elections that were hijacked by the Kremlin. It would be both stupid and undemocratic not to. This is a journalist from the Herald. He says, none of that is true. Not one bit of it. Georgescu campaigned on a platform of neutrality. Only pro-war candidates can be allowed to stand. So Georgescu is against, he's for ending the Ukraine war.
Oh, that's why he's far right, because
he doesn't want war. So now they call
war.
And so he gets 2,400 likes on that. This guy comes back and says, one word for you, bull. And of course, he gets ratioed on it. So
he can't live that close to Ukraine and not know how many fucking Nazis they have. That's not possible.
And here's what I said. I said, this is the end of democracy in Romania, and it's being supported by the EU, which is turning into a totalitarian state. Wholesale censorship and jailing people for speech. Now they're overthrowing democratically elected governments and criminalizing opposition politicians. This is the tyranny that J.D. Vance was speaking against in Munich. Why do we have a feeling that the same people who were behind the blowing up of the Nord Stream pipeline are the same people behind this?
Because Russia did this too.
Hey, what if getting life-saving medication was as simple as 1, 2, 3? Select your meds, get the prescriptions, and have it shipped straight to your door. What? That's how easy healthcare should be, and that's exactly what All Family Pharmacy does. No more jumping through hoops to get a prescription like ivermectin, no more hassle. Just quick, easy access to the meds you need when you need them. That's not your typical pharmacy. They cut out the red tape and make it simple to get your hands on medications like ivermectin, antibiotics, maintenance meds, emergency kits, and more. Check them out. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/door. That's D-O-R-E. They work with doctors to handle prescriptions for you. Simply order online, choose the meds you need, and get them shipped right to your door in just a few days. Fast, reliable access to what you and your family needs. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/door and use the code DOOR10 for a 10% off your order. Isn't that nice? Get the meds you need today, because your health should be in your hands. Again, go to allfamilypharmacy.com/door and use the code DOOR10 to get 10% off your order today. Come see us do stand-up in Baltimore, Hartford, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Cohoes, New York, Providence, Rhode Island, and San Jose, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for the tickets.